Welcome to a special edition of MLS Roundup from We Are Soccer. As usual, I've got soccer syndicate scout Brooks Lambier with us. Brooks, the U.S. men's national team is in the middle of World Cup qualifying. You ready to change things up a bit this week, talk a little bit of MLS and a lot of U.S. men's soccer?
Yes, of course.
All right, man. All right. Well, thank you again for joining. Appreciate it, buddy. And it's good to see you. Look like you're doing all right over there. Enjoying the work week.
Yes, enjoying the work week, all the soccer that's gone on, and the nice weather we're still having, even though it's been a little rainy, but still nice and warm weather.
Exactly. We had a couple nice days here. It was beautiful yesterday here in Michigan.
Yeah.
All right, man. So there hasn't been very much MLS going on. I think we had 4 games over the weekend. I know you watched them all, but there was also U.S. men's national team game as the U.S. suffered defeat, but they got another one coming up this week. Let's jump in and chat about those MLS games. First one on the docket was Red Bull versus Inter Miami with a Red Bull 1-0 win. What were your thoughts on that game, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull scoring a goal, in the 26th minute and then holding on, to win 1-0. I just kind of look at the two lineups here. I mean, I don't think there's too much to say from that game. And it's just been quite the year for Inter Miami. They win a few, they lose a few more, and, they just can't catch a streak. And just some of the stuff, the infractions and stuff they've been hit with not getting rid of the DP because they had 4, and their budget will be at the different next year for players and such. But it's just, I think Inter Miami just kind of wants the year to end, to be honest with you. But if you kind of throw the lineups out there, I mean, you look at NYRB. I mean, you have Corno, the foreign goalkeeper, Duncan, the right back, who's a academy kid, Edwards. You have Nealis, who was an academy kid but played college soccer. Andrew Gutman, Herman Trophy winner at IU, former Chicago Fire Chicago Fire Academy. Sean Davis played a couple years at Duke, Red Bull Academy kid. Omir Fernandez played a year at Wake Forest as a midfield winger. Red Bull Academy, they signed him. Frankie Amaya, who was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago out of California, played 1 year at UCLA. Then mixed in with some other foreigners. Then, if I read Miami's list here, I mean, you got Marsman, Kevin Leardom, who's a veteran who had a lot of good years in Seattle. The newbie, Mabika, who was their draft pick out of Kentucky this past year. Gonzalez Perez, who's been with Atlanta United. Jay Chapman, Michigan State Spartan, who's been with TFC, has had some good runs. Kind of was always a bench player for TFC, but starting a little more for Miami. Morgan, one of their DPs, Pizarro, Matuidi, Breck Shea, Robbie Robinson out of Clemson, Higuain. If you just compare the names, I think you can see that Miami has the talent, but unfortunately it's just not getting it done. And Red Bull and, some teams with lesser talent are finding a way to beat Miami. But credit to Red Bull. I mean, they need to win. They need to win to make the playoffs. Yep. And whether it's 1-0 or to get points somewhere, that's the important part. Because, after the international break, we have 6-7 games left in the season. So, Red Bull going the right way, Inter Miami going the wrong way.
Yeah, Inter Miami, man. They got a lot of big names. They just can't seem to put it together. And you're right. All year it's been up and down, up and down. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna agree 100% with you there. I think they're just ready for this season to be over. At this point, they're 8 points out of the playoff spots. They're not going to get there. Phil Neville and that squad they're done. It's over. And it'll be interesting to see whether David Beckham keeps his friend Phil Neville around for another year or whether he cans him and says, see ya. It's going to be interesting offseason for Inter Miami. What I really like what you said there about all those names, where they've come from, right? There's a lot of college soccer, a lot of homegrown, a lot of academy players that's young American players or players who have come up through those systems. And it is great to see. I mean, man, 10, 20 years ago, it was college soccer was the only way to become a pro. And now all of a sudden there's different routes and almost college soccer has become the lesser of the routes, but from what you just said there, it's great to see.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man. Interesting on that game for sure. One of the other games, FC Cincinnati versus Philadelphia Union, 2-1 FC Cincinnati win. What happened there, man?
2-1 Philly win.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had that backwards. Whoa,
Yes. Yeah,
my bad.
That's okay.
Cincy have obviously been through. They're still going through a little bit of transition. They got that new GM in there. They're going to be looking for their season's going to be over right now. Obviously, they're just getting through the end of the season. Then they'll be getting a head coach hunt going. So, what were your thoughts on that game? A 2-1 win for the Union over Cincinnati.
Yeah, FC Cincy officially eliminated from MLS playoff contention. I know I sent you that funny, that funny meme the Philadelphia Union social media team put out about let's get the Halloween party, stuff going up for TQL Stadium. Philly Union, shout out to Philly Union social media team for that one.
Yeah, that's clever.
They do some good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm in the first half. Brendan Aronson's brother Paxton scored in the 56th minute, and then Meduniwan, the former Philadelphia Union defensive mid, now plays for FC Cincy, scored in the 82nd minute. So, Philly's got to keep winning because that's tight in that middle of the top of the in the playoff for those teams hunting for playoff spots. Philly's got to win. Get the win when you can, especially like a team like FC Cincy would probably want their season to be done as well. Mm-hmm. So, good win for Philly, and nice to see the homegrown Paxton Aronson scoring, and Shabelko keeps scoring for the veterans. So that's always nice to see for Philly.
Exactly. Union are just getting they're 5 or 6 points clear, and we'll be into the playoffs, obviously. So now they're just trying to get their form correct, get everything going in the right direction, right, and get into those playoffs and keep going. Another game that happened this weekend, 4-1 Seattle over Vancouver. Yeah, man, how'd that game go?
Yeah, Seattle off really, O'Neal scoring in the 5th minute, ended off a header. Benazet, hitting them in the 14th minute. Brian White getting one back for Vancouver in first half stoppage and the 46 minute first half stoppage, 45+1. And Will Bruin, the Dancing Bear, scored in the 55th minute from IU. And then the Seattle getting one late in the 90th minute to make it 4. But hey, when, like I've said, Seattle loses guys to World Cup qualifying. Yep. Guys like Will Bruin, Benazet, O'Neal, all the guys step up, and there's good culture there. And I think Brian Schmetzer has really talked about that throughout the Seattle team and organization. And this is why they are on top of the Western Conference. And, I know some years they've started off really poorly and then they make a run at the end of the year and then they make a run in the playoffs. But, there's a good culture going there. And like I've said many times before, I wouldn't be shocked if they make the MLS Cup, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you there. They've had a great year and probably will make that cup. Last game that happened this weekend, kind of a strange game. Minnesota, Colorado. Tell us about that one, man, and how that one ended up.
Yeah. Minnesota scored in the 8th minute, so early in the game. And then early in the second half, so it was a through ball. I was watching this game, the through ball, and Wilson, former Liverpool center back, actually pulled the guy down. It's clear, who's the last man back, red card. So they're playing with 10 men in the 58th minute. And then Cole Bassett gets a PK in the 73rd. And then here we go, Colorado. Barrios scoring in the 84th minute. And then Estevez, the left back, scoring 90+3. So, Minnesota, no one likes us. Well, apparently, apparently you can't win with 11v10, and they're still up there in the playoff line. They're fighting for, a couple of those playoff, but, they've had an interesting season. They've tried to bring in players to fill gaps. And I just, I don't know. It's interesting. I think they're a quality squad when they have everyone healthy, but it's, it's started off well, and it's kind of been like up and down a little bit for
Yeah,
them.
it's
So
been a little bit of a roller coaster season for them for sure. Right now, they find
yeah,
themselves in seventh spot in the West. So right on that line, right on the cusp of that line, and see if they can get it done because Vancouver's hot on their heels, a point behind. So see if
yes,
they can get it down there.
yeah.
Well, the big news we've had over the past week here is U.S. men's national team, and on Sunday night they
Yeah.
suffered a 1-0 loss. Why don't we chat about your thoughts on the game, the lineup that was put out? Because I know I questioned the lineup when it was put out, and I know a lot of people have questioned it since. We beat Jamaica. U.S. beat Jamaica. Was it 8 days ago now? Whatever it is, 7 days ago. And yeah, we were up and we started pulling players out. And on the 65th, 70th minute, we pulled players out to rest them. And all of a sudden, those players weren't on the field to play against Panama. So that was a little strange. What were your thoughts on the game? Let's start with there. What do you think about that loss the U.S. suffered the other night at the hands of Panama in the World Cup qualifying match?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought so. The lineup was interesting for me. You can see in spots when we replace certain guys where the level drops, and you can see in other places where the level drops. It's not as big of a gap between the top tier and the second tier. I would say left back would be a great example. Robinson, Bello, you know Robinson, Sam Bynes, who broke his collarbone. So he just got back into training this week. I read on his move over in Europe. He went to Belgium. I think that was the move he made at Antwerp. So he was unavailable. I just think it's a drop off. I mean, Bell does well for Atlanta United. I'm not too crazy about how he plays. Mark McKenzie, I was never really big on him at the Philadelphia Union, to be honest with you. I thought he was a good player in the air. I thought the game was kind of fast for him at times. I really wanted to see Zimmerman and Richards together, or Zimmerman and or Robinson and Chris Richards. I mean, if you look at last season, I mean, Chris Richards was on loan at Hoffenheim, and he was superb for them. He filled in, he did what was needed. He didn't make a lot of errors. And that's not easy and to do well, because a lot of guys tend to when they're on loan, it's like, this isn't the club that bought me. Like, why do I care? Why should I play hard for the team that I'm loaned out to? And that's not Chris Richards. He plays hard all the time. The right back situation, bringing Yedlin off the bench, and Shaq Moore had a good Gold Cup, but I just the outside backs weren't getting up and involved enough. Unfortunately, it was Kaunikas's worst time, to have, his worst game probably that at least I've seen of late of him in the U.S. men's national team uniform. And Yunus Munsa didn't do well. Sebastian Lletget, people were saying a lot he was playing backwards too much. And, sometimes Sebastian, I agree, sometimes he plays a little negative. He needs to play positive a little more. The one thing I understand is if you have a front three, Zardis, Areola, and Weah. I mean, I think Weah does well. I just don't think he's very consistent. And there's always been the discussion: is he a center forward? Is he a winger? Well, for sure, a winger. I just don't get that point why you don't play Aronson, Hoppy, and Pepe at that point, just because Pepe wants to go score. Give Areola some rest, play him at Costa Rica because he's been injury prone before in his career. Brendan Aronson, very creative guy, and has shown that he can move out of the midfield into that winger spot, and do a very good job. And Matthew Hoppy is, Mallorca, he's gotten some time and played after transferring out of Schalke. And, it's just, there's just some moves sometimes that are head scratchers that everyone says, why does Berhalter do this? Or why do we play this formation? And I think that's everyone wanted. Like, there was just a lack of energy.
Right.
And, they didn't play a lot. They tend to go long a little, especially at the end of the game when they know they needed a goal. There was no trying to play. There was no trying to break lines. It was just, how can we loft it in and get up there, and we'll play Walker Zimmerman up top and he'll win headers. And, it's just like there was no strategy. And that's not what you want to see. I mean, we want to play a little bit, right? So,
right.
Those are my thoughts. I don't know what you thought.
Oh no, I agree completely. I saw that lineup and went, "What's going on here?" We rested some players at the end of the Jamaica game. Um, these guys are very comfortable playing, 3 games in 8 days. This is what they do. You got an 18-year-old Pepe who can't stop scoring, and all of a sudden you're going to sit him on the bench and put Zardes in, who's coming back from injury. And I mean, I don't know. I didn't get it. I wasn't thrilled with the lineup. I didn't understand the tactics. It just, I get it. You've got a squad, and if you want to do squad rotation, I get it, but it just did not make sense. And I'll compare it to England in the Euros. There was some squad rotation and it worked. Gareth Southgate looks like a genius when it works. But when a manager does squad rotation and it doesn't work, and you lose, and you have the opportunity to pick up points, you look like an idiot. And I think Greg Berhalter looked like an idiot in this game against Panama. With all that being said, now we've got the final game of the three here, coming up against Costa Rica at home in Columbus at Lower.com Field. Must win. It's an absolute must win. He's got to go with his strongest lineup, 100% right off the bat. So that's going to be a very interesting game. We do know that Weston McKennie and Anthony Robinson, as of this point when this video is being shot, they are injured. They're going to undergo late fitness tests before the game to see if they can get into the squad. Other than that, I think most of the players are healthy, and hopefully they've recovered, because, again, 3 points is required at this point, in my opinion. Brooks, I'll ask you, if it's anything less than 3 points, what's the backlash going to be against Greg Berhalter?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's going to go back to why didn't you play a different squad in Panama and at least get 3 points from that? And then, if we drop a game against a better side in Costa Rica, but obviously you shouldn't lose games at home.
Right.
And that's the tough part about qualifying is, you should at least get points from your home matches.
Yep.
And then your away matches, if you can get a point away, and then you get a win here and there, I mean, that'll help you qualify. But I mean, for me, when I look at and I know some people don't like the 3-back system, but I don't mind if you play a Walker Zimmerman, a Chris Richards, and a Miles Robinson in the back. Like I really don't. I don't mind that. I think that's a good. And then you play DeAndre Edlin as a wingback. You play Bello as a wingback because there's Shaq Moore. Because I felt like in past lineups, they are much better as wingbacks, having more freedom to go forward than they are in a 4-back as an outside back. So I think sometimes what he does, he just second guesses himself, and he really needs to realize that, okay, who am I putting in this position? Where they look good, where they haven't. I think that's the question. And I think everyone that's worried about this isn't, when there's no Pulisic, there's no Reyna, all the Weston McKennie stuff and everything. I think people, what they need to take away too is I know it's important to win. I know you want points, but I think from a scouting perspective, I always look at is we have come far, like with the talent, like between our A and B squad. I mean, I know everyone's like, well, that was the BC players in the Gold Cup. Well, if you got to notice, a lot of those players that are playing in these World Cup qualifiers are from that squad in the bench, and there's not a huge drop off. And I think that's vastly important, especially because it pushes the talent, the higher talent, in training. And then you have to just keep your game up that much when you're playing on your club team.
Yep.
If you want to be in the, the 26-man roster. So, I think we at least need a point tomorrow. Yep. 3 would be very nice if we could. But I mean, I think Greg's got to sit back, look at the players, and figure out who my guys that can at least get me a point or 3. Who are the big time guys that have showed up? Do you give Busio a run, or do you bring him off the bench? Or, everyone's been saying for Luca De La Torre to get more time, or, I would like to see Matt Hoppe get a run, for at least the first 45 minutes, someone that's going to bring us some energy, because the energy's got to come from somewhere, because it was just so lackluster in that Panama game.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think Hoppe needs to get in there. He brings the energy. I love the way he played over the summer for the U.S. men's national team, and I think he is the key there. Obviously, I think we're both on the same page. Pepe starts up top. The guy just puts the ball in the back of the net. Give him a chance. In my mind, I was explaining him to someone the other week, and in my mind, he's like this is quite the comparison, so don't laugh, but he's almost like a Drogba in the middle of the field. Yeah, he'll hold the ball up. He'll flick it on. That's great. I don't really want to use him too much in the middle of the field or out wide, but put the ball on his foot or on his head in the box, and there's going to be a goal. So, get him in there. Let's Greg Berhalter quickly has to figure out his best players here and his best team to get 3 points. With all that being said, the U.S. currently do sit second in the group. 3 points behind Mexico. Costa Rica are currently fifth. They've played 5 games, won 1, drawn 3. So they seem to be kind of tying a lot of games, drawing their specialists. So I wouldn't be surprised if this ended in a draw and U.S. picked up a point. But they need all 3, in my opinion. And Greg Berhalter needs them to get all 3 to take some of the media and a lot of the slack off of him. So, yeah.
Well, it would be important too for me, because the next qualifying game you're going to play is Mexico and Cincinnati in November. So you want momentum going into that game, and you want to put some pressure on Tata Martino and Mexico, who, in the past haven't done well in the state of Ohio winning games. But Columbus has been the spot. That's been the spot where Dos Acero was created, and it's been like that for a while until last World Cup qualifying when they finally beat us there. But, and it's question is, can Cincinnati be that new place that's a fortress for the U.S. men's national team, or will it always be Columbus? And there's a lot of questions, but I think you need to get it right tomorrow, and then heading in, you give people confidence that you can get it right against Mexico, going in November. So it's going to be interesting, but you just can't overthink it. You got to just judge how guys have played and the camaraderie, and I just, you got to go with your gut, or you got to ask the players sometimes, what do you feel is best? And, that's what a good coach does,
Absolutely. Well, we'll see if Greg gets it right, and the U.S. can kind of get the job done here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my friend. That'll wrap up another MLS roundup from We Are Soccer. Brooks, thank you so much for joining. Your insight, man, the knowledge you have and share with us is just awesome. So I very much appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it, and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, man. All right. Hopefully next week we're talking about 3 points for the U.S. over Costa Rica, and we don't have to worry about qualification for a little bit. So,
exactly.
All right. Until then, my friend, take care and cheers.
Cheers, bud.